creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
If
Women
women, oh god, again? We're doing this again? Okay, let's go.
go through menstruation,
Oh, this is different. This is very different.
then why don't men go through menstruation?
I will have you assassinated. I will have.
You know, if a vampire bites a zombie, will the zombie become a vampire? Or will the vampire become a zombie?
And has a huge problem. Let me tell you why.
This house has zero value, or even negative value if you ask a lot of Japanese people. I bought this house in central Tokyo earlier this year and started renovating it on my own. The house was empty for a couple of years and built in 1971. This might be a cultural shock for a lot of people, but older Japanese houses have zero value. The value lays in the land, and the house itself depreciates, right? All of my Japanese friends thought I was crazy for trying to save something that has zero value. Japan has 10 million vacant homes, and it's easy for foreigners to buy too. The hard part is to renovate and find reliable labor. Trash disposal itself can sometimes cost more than the house alone. And a water leak like this is not cheap to fix either. My previous Akia renovation, the one Caleb Simpson tore.
How much do you pay for rent in Japan?
I don't pay rent. I just bought an abandoned house. Do you want to have a look?
Outdoor shower.
Outdoor shower. Took me and my friends 1 full year to renovate. This time we were more experienced and prepared. Before, 5 months later, after. A recycled wooden deck leading up to the house. And a full-size Swedish kitchen. Next house to save is my $15,000 Chiba farmhouse. So
Follow for more Japan renovation.
Have these guys seen The Grudge, Ring, and others?
If you like to drink coconuts, especially those that come partially peeled with a straw attached, you should watch this video. I'm Dr. Sam and this is Medical Adulting, where you will learn interesting medical lessons to enjoy your life better. This is the story of a 69-year-old gentleman from Aarhus, Denmark. He drank coconut water directly from the coconut with a straw. It tasted a bit weird, so he opened it up to take a look. This is what he found. Ooh. It was rotten and slimy inside. And because he only drank a little bit, he didn't think much about it. Just told his wife about it and carried on. 3 hours later, he started to sweat profusely, vomit, became really pale, and was also confused. And by the time he was brought to the emergency department, he had fallen into a coma. They had to admit him to the ICU. His blood pressure was sky high and his brain was swollen. And despite their best efforts, he passed away 26 hours after admission. During the autopsy, the doctors found fungus in the windpipe. That made them go back to check this. They found the exact same fungus inside this. You see, this fungus produces a toxin called 3-nitropropionate acid. Doctors were puzzled as to why this coconut was affected, so they asked the wife. It turned out that he had left the coconut in the kitchen at room temperature for 1 month. This is supposed to be refrigerated at 4 to 5 degrees. So always store these coconuts in the fridge because they're already partially peeled. Only whole coconuts can be stored at room temperature. And remember, if it tastes funny, spit it out, because just a little bit would be
Poor guy. But hey, come to Bali. We drink coconut straight from the coconut sellers. They peel it right in front of your eyes. Ugh. But you got bacteria that are really important for your health dies too, right?
Strike a nuclear power plant directly with a nuclear weapon. You will have a nuclear core materials meltdown. The land will be uninhabited all the way to Colorado.
What?
Are you serious?
The fires will loft into the air 330 billion pounds of soot.
Oof.
Goes up into the troposphere and blocks out the sun. 70% of the sun's rays disappear. And so, hence nuclear winter. Suddenly, in places like across the mid-latitudes of the globe, you have all bodies of water, freshwater bodies, become ice. The ice at the Arctic Circle doubles. You have a temperature drop around the Earth between 27 and 40 degrees.
Whoa. Wow.
Places like Iowa and Ukraine, breadbaskets of the world, they become frozen for 8, 9, 10 years. Agriculture fails. So now you have people, any survivors, who are, malnourished, suffering from radiation poisoning. Everyone who they know is dead, fighting over a tiny amount of resources. When the sun returns, you think the sun's back out, but the ozone layer has been destroyed, so the sun will give you radiation poisoning. So people have to live underground.
Who watched the movie called The 100? Let me know in the comments.
Michael Jackson ambulance, right? Okay. They copied the number, they looked at the number, they followed it, and one of the paparazzis followed it to a tunnel before it was brought to the hospital, to a tunnel, and it shows somebody leaving the ambulance. I'm gonna show you right now. Check this out. So this is the video. They follow the ambulance. This is the same ambulance. Yeah. And they see somebody hopping out with a hoodie on, getting put out, and the same hoodie as Michael Jackson, bro. And the same hoodie as Michael Jackson. Come on, fam. Ain't no way. The only thing is if this was just like planned or whatever, but it's the same number on the door.
Oh my god, same number?
It's the same number on the door of the ambulance. Look here, June 25th, 2009. They have the body going in there. Look, they followed it. This is paparazzi taking the video, and they can see like the same number on the door. Boom, open that shit up.
Yeah, Michael Jackson hops out.
Bro hops out.
No.
How sus is that, fam? How sus is that?
Yeah, Hollywood is weird, bro. That Brittany Murphy house was also in Hollywood, right? It's like LA, right?
That's the hills, bro.
Yeah. There's some. Oh
No, they say about the hills. The hills have eyes.
Yeah.
But if he's alive, why should he hide? Who's he hiding from? Diddy? Black German Shepherd? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
When the Almighty created woman, he created a weird animal. They're incapable of being happy.
Why do you say that?
Because women with curly hair buy a straight. Women with straight hair buy a curly. Women with dark hair dye it blonde. Women with blonde hair dye it dark. Women with big boobs, they get a breast reduction. Women with small boobs, they get implants. I mean, you can't make that species happy. If they're light skinned, they want to get darker. There is no making them happy. They got eyebrows. They shave them off and draw new ones on. There is no making that species happy.
You know, when they had the whole garden, they ate from the only tree that they were told to not eat from.
Do you think Bali's overrated like I did the first time I came here? It's literally just because you don't know where to go, because look at this. Oh my lord, that's the ocean and the pool. That's so beautiful. And that is my villa. I actually have the views directly to this. And all of this was only $120. So this is called Sagara Seaside in Nusa Ceningal. And in my next video, I'll give you a full review and show you all the really amazing places that you can go in Bali that is not overrated.
I think Bali is a little overrated. Indonesia is so huge. There are so many places to go. They're better than Bali, like Labuan Bajo, Komodo Island, Padar, Wairabo, Lombok, Raja Ampat, just to name a few.
Negative people ruin your life. There was actually a study that was done in 2006. It was called the bad apple effect, where they took groups of 5 people and randomly added a negative person to some of the groups to see how it would affect the group while they were working on tasks. The groups that had one negative person did 40% worse on all of their tasks, and the quality of their work decreased by 25%. They also found that groups that had a negative person had 50% more conflicts and more disagreements, which led to less effective collaboration. The crazy part about it though, these sessions were only like 30 to 60 minutes. Some of you have had negative people in your life your entire life though. Imagine what they're doing to you mentally. You have to be okay with letting people go because your mental health is so important that you need to prioritize that over everything else.
Now do a study with one positive person in a group of negative people.
If you died tonight, your employer would advertise to fill your job by the end of this week. But your loved ones, your friends, your family would miss you forever. You have to understand that you can't be so busy, always trying to make a living, that you forget to make a life for yourself.
Or they make his co-workers do his work and save his salary.
Young boy jumped into a pool in an old abandoned house in Georgia. He did it for clicks and views on his social media, but what he didn't know is an amoeba got into his nose while he was underwater. The amoeba then travels upwards and starts eating his brain cells. In a few days, what seems like just a headache turned into an excruciating pain. The boy then started to have seizures and hallucinations. 18 days later, he sadly passed away on the hospital's bed.
Always look beautiful from up high. Take some video of the streets and see what it really looks like.
Real men, the real value men, they don't wear anything flashy. You don't even know they have money. That's the beauty. They wear same t-shirt every day. And they're the true men with the values. They're the ones who, they're dangerous. They know their stuff. And if they want to inflict danger, they know. But the beauty about them is that they have that everything's under control. So if anyone wants to mess with them, you know you're gonna get burned. But because they're so in control and in their king energy, the girls know that he is a good person to be with because he can protect me, but he also will respect me and love me.
I told her not to mention me.
Something huge is happening. Something that could shake the foundations of the world as we know it. This is bigger than losing any war. Our country is going to hell, President Donald Trump said. And it's all because of one name you may be hearing for the very first time. BRICS. Who or what is BRICS? BRICS is the alliance of these 5 powerful nations, but many more countries are lining up to join them. Together, they represent a staggering 40% of the world's population and over 23% of global GDP. Son, but what's even more alarming? In their latest summit, BRICS is about to do something that could shift the balance of global power forever. They are planning to introduce a gold-backed currency. This is a direct challenge to the US dollar's dominance, and it's sending shockwaves through Washington, NATO, and the entire Western world. This isn't just an economic alliance. This is a global war, quietly unfolding between the US and NATO on one side, and BRICS on the other. The global world order is being rearranged, and America's dominance is on the edge. The world is watching. What happens next could change everything. Subscribe for more updates and for similar videos.
What about if America joined BRICS?
Ignore Beyonce, bit random. Wow. Ignore Beyonce, bit random. Wow. I thought P. Diddy. So I went out to shake his hand, and I shook his hand, and I was, oh, nice to meet you, and he's going, with the longest handshake ever. And I'm like sat there just looking in P. Diddy's eyes like, when is this going to end?
And the Grammy goes to...
Liam's girlfriend posted on her story on the corner 444. No. I wish you could see how Chopper works. This drone can assist police and tactical officers combat. Massive advantage.
One night, this guy, his name's Thomas, and Thomas is chilling at home with his dad. And Dad, he decides to take the dog out for a walk and go get their mail. Like, I'll be back soon, son. A few minutes later, Thomas notices the dog is back in the house, but Dad isn't with him. So Thomas is like, that's weird. Wonder where he went. Then a day passes, and Dad still hasn't come back home. And Thomas hasn't heard from him, so he gets worried. And he calls the police and he lets them know his dad is missing. And then officers drive over to Thomas's house and they talk to him about it a little bit, and they start getting suspicious of Thomas. So they bring him in and they question him, and while he's there being questioned, police go and they search his house. And there, in his house, police find a potential blood stain on the stairs. Plus, the police dog signals that there could be human remains somewhere in the house. Meanwhile, back at the station, they tell Thomas about the evidence they just found at his house. And they start pushing him to confess and just admit that he unalived his dad. And Thomas is like, but I didn't unalive anyone. But police, they don't believe him, and they continue interrogating him all night long. Here's the thing about Thomas, though. He's got some mental stuff going on, and he normally takes medication for anxiety and depression. But because he's been with police for a while now, he hasn't been able to take it. So he begs them to give him some of his medication, but they don't. They just ignore his requests. Then one officer starts suggesting that maybe it was the medication that caused Thomas to snap and unalive his dad. And they keep pushing him to just show them where the body is. And at one point, they even put him in a patrol car, and they drive him around trying to get him to show them where the dad's body is. And this whole time, while they're driving him around, Thomas keeps telling them he didn't unalive anyone, and he's pleading with them to take him to the hospital because he feels sick and he needs his meds. But still, police just ignore his pleas, and they take him back to the station. And poor Thomas, he's confused and his medication withdrawal is hitting, and he's starting to have a very obvious mental breakdown. But even still, officers just don't believe him. And that is when they decide to bring his dog in. And they're like, look at your dog. Don't you see how traumatized she is because she watched you unalive your own dad? And they tell him that the dog is so mentally messed up from what he did that they're going to have to euthanize her. And this makes Thomas feel even worse. But still, he maintains that he had nothing to do with his dad's disappearance. And after 17 hours of interrogation, police just can't get a confession out of him. But they don't give up. They decide to change tactics and lie. And they tell Thomas they've just found his dad's body and that it's all covered in stab wounds. And they tell him he just doesn't remember unaliving his dad because the medication he takes made him forget that he did it. And at this point, Thomas is so mentally worn down and he's just exhausted. And finally, he looks at them and he says yes. And he admits to unaliving his dad. And officers, they're like, sweet, because they just got their guy. And so they leave the room. They're done. But Thomas isn't done. He's there and he takes his shoelace out of his shoe and he ties it into a slip knot and he attaches it to the desk and he puts his head into the loop and he tries to unalive himself. But lucky for him, the shoelace breaks before anything bad happens to him. God. But police, they hear the commotion and they rush in and they see what's happening. And finally, they're like, okay, we're just gonna send you to the psychiatric hospital. And there, at the hospital, they lock Thomas in a psych ward. I mean, God, this has really been the worst day of his life. Until, at this point, 30 hours have passed since Thomas originally called to report his dad missing. And that's when suddenly, bam, police get a phone call. And it's Thomas's sister. And she's like, we actually found Dad alive.
What?
It turns out he was never missing. And this is all just a big miscommunication. So, here's what really happened to Dad. When Dad left the house that night to walk the dog and get the mail, he also went over to visit his girlfriend, and he didn't have his cell phone with him. Then later, he went to the airport to fly to Northern California to visit his daughter. I guess he just didn't tell anyone. So he's been alive this whole time. He just forgot his cell phone. And I have no idea what the alleged bloodstain on the stairs was. But the point is, Thomas didn't unalive his dad. Here's the messed up thing, though. After police get that call from Thomas's sister, they don't immediately go and get Thomas out of the psych ward. They leave him in there for 3 more days. And during those 3 days, the poor guy is still convinced that both his dad and his dog are dead. Anyway, eventually they let him out, and he finds out his dad is okay, and he gets his dog out of the pound, and he sues the out of the police department. And ultimately, he gets a settlement of around $900,000. Good for him.
Pretty sure that's classed as cruel and unusual punishment.
And so all you need to do is focus on a person long enough, or an object long enough, anything that you want long enough, and you are now entangled with that thing. And information changes in that thing can be reflected in you.
The entanglement process is a pixel of energy that can expand and feed information back to us. This process can allow us to bring in stored subconscious information, knowledge, and open up a gateway to abundance through this process of entanglement. It becomes easy to read energies and people and places and things, and everybody has the ability to do it.
We all entangle with our smartphone then.
Singaporean man, 31, and Malaysian girlfriend, 38, could face death. They arrested in JB for trafficking drugs.
Local woman had been using a terrace house in one of Johor Bahru's affluent neighborhoods as a drug processing laboratory since May. He added that the narcotics seized from the 2 suspects, who also tested positive for drugs, are meant for the local market and a neighboring country. The drugs are distributed in small quantities using runners to avoid police detection. Commissioner Kumar said police also seized a car, almost 132,000 ringgit in cash, including Singapore currency, and 3 bank accounts containing over 129,000 ringgit. The 2 suspects have been remanded to assist with investigations under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act, 1952, processing syndicate, following the arrest of a pair of lovers. Various types of drugs worth more than 2 million ringgit and drug processing equipment were also.
How much is 2 million ringgits?
There was a guy I knew, his whole game was he'd have 3 questions he'd ask a girl he'd meet. Where are you from? What's your age? How's your relationship? So he'd say, so where are you from? And she'd say, Chicago. So what are you, 28, 29? She'd go, no, I'm 34. How's your relationship right now with your boyfriend? And she'd go, well, I'm actually single, and all these guys lie, blah, blah, blah. Every guy's a player. And you go, all right, so you're a 34-year-old girl from Chicago looking for love in all the wrong places. And girls would just melt. Why? He demonstrated an understanding of her reality by literally feeding back to her exactly what she said. We can tell someone everything about us, and then they feed it back to us, and we go, wow, this person really just gets me on a deeper level most people don't. Let's say you're on a phone call, you have an appointment funnel, so people book appointments with you. On the appointment, you have certain questions. They tell you the information, and then you feed it back to them. Now you've demonstrated an understanding of their reality, and so they automatically assume you have the solution.
Any girl you'll get with game, you lose with game.
Alright, I'm gonna spill the bean. I'm gonna make my prediction on how the AI industry is going to evolve and how this is gonna impact all of us. I worked in AI for 10 years, I teach at Harvard, I think I know a thing or two, but this may be all BS, who knows? It's my prediction. Ready? Let's go, 1 minute. So, you know everybody talks about AGI, this magic technology that is supposed to cure cancer and whatever. Not happening. At least in the short term, it's not going to happen. Why do I say this? Well, because this is what OpenAI, actually one person at OpenAI, which is Sam Altman, keeps saying that they're close to, but all their executives have left. Their CTO has just left. The head of research has left. Would you leave a company if that company is so close from achieving your lifelong dream? It's not going to happen. So if AGI is out of the picture, what is going to happen then? Well, all the technology that these companies are building, it's basically all reaching the same level of performance. GPT-4o, the top of the pops model from OpenAI, it's now very similar to Claude from Anthropic, which is very similar to Llama 3, which is a model from Meta that is basically free. So all these technologies are reaching the same level of performance, and the cost is going down like freaking crazy. If you want to integrate ChatGPT, that kind of functionality in your product today, is 95% cheaper than when it was launched. This is the fastest depreciating asset probably in history, like 95% price cut in a year and a half. Insane. This means that within a few years, we're not going to reach AGI, but this level of AI is going to be integrated everywhere for basically no cost. These companies are all going to compete for margins. They're not going to make a lot of money. And here it gets controversial. OpenAI has just shifted from a non-for-profit to a for-profit model. Why? Well, I think this is because Sam Altman is going to get a cut.
Sam Altman.
They're going to IPO, make a shit ton of money, and then leave, because the grandiose dream of building AGI is gone. The dream of building a profitable company probably gone, because again, all the companies have the same tech. And yeah, it's just going to become another piece of technology. We're going to stop talking about AI products. We're just going to talk about products. In the same way today, I don't pitch an internet product. It's just a product. It's just something you take for granted. These are my wild predictions. Let me know what you think.
Go look at CRISPR. That's where the next big tech change is happening. Spell CRSPR, if I'm not mistaken.
Like a couple weeks ago, OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT, they came out with their new model known as O1. And I've been playing around with O1 for the last week, and to me, it's incredible. As an example of this, I put in a question. I asked ChatGPT 4o and O1 the same question, which is, if we were to create a AI shadow organization for the government of Malaysia, what would be your strategy to design this particular model? The difference between this is that 4o is kind of like getting a McKinsey analyst to work for you, and O1 to me is actually getting like a McKinsey team to work for you. You see, over the last 2 years, we've been worked up about GPTs, which is basically a engine that can predict what the next text is going to be. But what they've done with O1, it's actually a reasoning model. Instead of predicting what the next text is going to be, what O1 is doing, it's actually solving a puzzle for you. And what this is going to be, it's going to be the gateway drug to AI agents. An AI agent is different than a GPT because it can actually get work done for you. It can access APIs. It can connect with other agents. It can solve problems for you. And this is going to be a huge game changer.
Okay. I hope so.
This is going to change the way that you see people. So there's two types of people in this world. There's batteries and there's vacuums. Batteries are people that when you spend time with them, you feel more energized. You're more excited about life. You feel energized by them and inspired to do more. Vacuums, on the other hand, are people who suck energy from you. You know who I'm talking about. They're people that you could spend 3 minutes with and you feel completely drained after being around them. If I can give you the biggest tip, it would be to find more batteries and spend more time with them and get rid of the vacuums in your life. Because your energy is so important and your community is so important that you need to realize that if someone is sucking the energy from you and making you feel worse about yourself, you need to get rid of them and spend more time with more people who inspire you and make you want to be better in this world.
I'm surrounded by vacuums.
This guy is an AI researcher. He's like godfather of AI, and he just won the Nobel Prize in Physics. Now, the interesting thing is that his discovery is actually not that hard to understand, and I'm about to explain you. So in 1 minute, you're gonna understand what the Nobel Prize in Physics. His name is Geoffrey Hinton. What he wanted to do was understanding a way to make AI models learn. And specifically, he was working on something called an artificial neural network. Your brain has a bunch of neurons that analyze electrical inputs and make you think. An artificial neural network is sort of like the same concept, even though it's pretty different. And it's basically a bunch of operations, a bunch of numbers. Now, here's the interesting thing. He was trying to find a way to change those numbers to make AI models learn. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you want to train an AI model to recognize cats and dogs. In the beginning, this AI model has never seen a cat or a dog, so it has 50% chance of saying it's a cat and being right, and 50% chance of being wrong and saying it's a dog. So what Geoffrey Hinton worked on is something called backpropagation. He basically said that if you know that this is a cat, you can find a way to change the numbers in this neural network to make it improve. Let me show you. Let's say that I have 2 pictures of cats and 2 pictures of dogs. If I feed them into my neural network, it may be 50% right at the beginning, because again, it's gonna do things at random. But if I have the answers of all of these training examples, I can tell my neural network, hey, you have to change yourself, change the numbers within yourself, so that next time you see this picture, you're a bit more likely to say that it's a cat, to give the correct answer. And he represented everything with a beautiful, simple equation that I'm about to show you. Now I'm gonna explain it to you. It's pretty straightforward. This is the equation, and basically says the new numbers are equals to the old numbers changed by the derivative of your error. So it looks at the mistakes of the neural networks and it changes the numbers within the neural network based on its errors. Learn from mistakes. That's all he did, basically. Learn from mistakes, but for computers. And that's how he won a Nobel Prize for physics. Amazing. This is a great day for AI, I guess. Even though I honestly don't think this is physics. It's kind of weird that he got a Nobel Prize in physics, isn't it?
Every science is physics, eventually.
These are not really the richest people in the world. These are the self-made billionaire poster boys presented as the richest people in the world to perpetuate the idea that consumer capitalism is a merit system. We need to move away from the idea that all money is created equal. Money doesn't really have value. Money just kind of represents value. The thing is, when it comes to calculating how much relative value certain things actually have, the market is kind of mathematically illiterate. Lots of things have incredibly overinflated value. Like, you think the apartment you're renting is actually worth $1.5 million? Come on. Like, this guy owns 9% of Amazon, and according to the market, that means he's worth like $202 billion. But what is Amazon actually worth? What does it get its value from? They produce some things themselves, but mostly they sell and deliver shit produced by other people. They're a middleman service, which means most of their value comes from their infrastructure, which is mostly driven by labor. That's human life. Labor is human beings selling their time and energy, so essentially their life in exchange for money, which means that the less your life, your time, your effort, your energy, your labor is worth relative to the market, the more Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and other companies like it are worth relative to the market, which is done through inflation, right? When the value of money goes down relative to the price of goods and services, that means that the value of labor goes down. Unless people's salary also goes up, which of course it doesn't, which means that people have to work more hours to afford the same goods and services, which means every hour of their life has become less valuable in the eyes of the market. And that's what Jeff Bezos's magnificent pile of wealth is actually made of, right? Primarily, it's a big stack of employment contracts where people are being coerced into selling their labor, selling their time, selling their lives for less than they're actually worth. When you think about it like that, that's a pretty fragile pile, right? That's sensitive to a lot of potential catastrophe. That's essentially always one proper employee strike or one proper consumer strike away from almost total obliteration. Like, do we really believe that that makes you the richest man alive? Do we really believe that that is the most valuable thing that a human being can own? Between them, BlackRock and Vanguard control wealth in the tens of trillions. So whose wealth is that? Well, a lot of it is retirement funds from all over the world, so technically some of it might be yours. But really, who technically owns the money is frankly less interesting than who who has the influence to control it. See, they both own major shares of basically the whole economy, including Apple, Microsoft, Meta, but also including Tesla and including Amazon. But also, they both own shares of each other, and they both own shares of all the major banks, and all the major banks own shares of them. It's a giant, intricate, circular web of money weaving in on itself, making it impossible to tell who's actually in charge. But it is quite evident that somebody is using this wealth to manipulate the political and economic state of the world according to a quite specific agenda. Somebody definitely has their hand on the scale here, but I don't think you're supposed to be able to figure out who. They have a marked impact on the way the economy is managed. Larry Fink of BlackRock was basically put in charge of handling the bailouts in 2008, despite BlackRock being heavily invested in the banks that were being bailed out, despite Larry Fink having a personal hand in creating the subprime mortgage crisis that led to the crash in the first place. They deliberately influenced the narrative in entertainment, the narrative in media, the narrative in marketing. They have a direct hand in the information that you have access to, but also how it is presented to you. So when we're talking about who actually are the wealthiest people in the world, when we think from the perspective of someone who controls the institutions, that controls the narrative, that controls the way humanity interprets reality, and we're talking about people who influence the institutions, that control the institutions, that control and circulate the supply of money itself, what does wealth mean from that perspective? Is it really who has the biggest pile of money? Does that make sense? If I was a person like that, somebody with the power to leverage your own retirement fund against you, I'd probably make sure to invest some of my power into making sure you had no idea who I was, and some of my power into making sure you had some faces to associate with the idea of wealth and power that weren't mine.
You know, Rothschild family with a fortune of over $700 trillion, they're probably on BlackRock, Vanguard, and every banking system on the planet.
You want to know a crazy universal truth, though? If you want other people to love you, you're actually wanting love from yourself. If you want other people to accept you, it's because you actually don't accept yourself.
Wow.
See, the world is just a reflection of yourself. What you're searching for from the external world is really just what you're truly wanting from yourself. So you have to learn to fill yourself up first. And if you do that, you'll realize that you don't need anything from anyone.
This is gold.
A Singaporean drug dealer in Thailand was deported back to Singapore on Thursday, September 19th, the CNB said, following his arrest by Thai police.
He could face death after deportation, Bangkok Post. The Bangkok Post reported assets worth 15 million baht for 153,000 United States dollars were also seized from the man, who is believed to have entered Thailand on a Vanuatu passport.
If you want to do big time, act like a lamb, not a tiger.
From China, as an atheist, I believed nothing but science. I was studying the structure of eye in med school, and I realized that the human eye is so complicated. Trillions of cells has to line up perfectly for visual signal capturing and interpretation. If any one of those cells gets out of line, the person will be born blind. So I had a big problem, and the atheist me at the time, that how could so many cells form in such a short period of time out of randomness? So I kept on asking a professor, and he said, "Ming, what's a cross street?" I said, that's a car. He said, "What's the difference between a car and a human eye?" I said, "Human eye is a lot more complicated." He said, "Okay, can you imagine how a random piece of metal form itself into a car?" I said, "No way." And he said, "How about human eye?" So right there, he opened a window in my life, making me realize that it was formed with a specific purpose for vision. So there's a designer, a creator behind that. And I start with my journey believing first there's a creator, there's a God, and later on, more specifically, the God is in the form of Jesus Christ. And Christ has died for our sin so that we could have a chance for eternity.
A movie about this man was made. I saw it a few months ago. It's called Sight.
All you need is one person in your life who believes in you. One person who says, you got this. This is the person who helps you believe in yourself. This is the person who reminds you of who you truly are when you get lost. And then most importantly, you know that there is nothing that you could ever do to make them feel differently about you. If you can find that person, you'll be able to move mountains.
Sounds like a mom is that person.
I went from working in packaging to founding Sri Lanka's first on-demand laundry and dry cleaning app. Meet Kalhara Haporachchi, the founder of Washup. Kalhara studied at Nalanda College and then started his career at his Anuan Holdings, which specializes in corrugated and poly packaging. But Kalhara wanted to start something of his own. One day while driving in Colombo, he saw a dry cleaner and it hit him that unlike bakeries or banks, this was one business that had not been digitized at the time. It is here that he saw an opportunity. Kalhara wanted to make laundry services more convenient and accessible by creating an app that allows people to manage their laundry with just a few taps on their phone. So he created WashApp, Sri Lanka's first app-based laundry service. WashApp launched in 2017. The app allowed users to schedule pickups and deliveries, and their clothes were cleaned at a state-of-the-art facility in Ratmalana. But it wasn't easy. People were skeptical about this new way of doing laundry. Kalhara knew that the main competition wasn't other laundry services, but the washing machine itself. This didn't stop Kalhara. By offering free pickup and delivery and ensuring top-notch service, WashApp quickly built trust among its users. WashApp raised a rumored $1 million in funding, which was a significant amount for Sri Lankan startups at the time. Business started picking up, with services like wash and press, dry clean, and even 24-hour express options.
Wow.
WashApp has made doing laundry as easy as pressing a button. Today, WashApp is available in over 50 towns and cities across Colombo, Kalutara, and Gampaha districts, with plans to expand even further. Kalhara believes in the power of diversification and is also the founder of K9's Group, an investment and venture capital firm. He also started a charitable organization called A Little Foundation. Despite his busy schedule, he finds time for content creation and is a popular personality on TikTok. Kalhara Haporachchi's journey is an inspiration to entrepreneurs everywhere who dream of bringing new ideas.
Proud of you, boss. That's nice. 650. We also have a lot of Americans, Australians, Canadians, Europeans, Brits live here in Bali. They're usually tech boys working remote jobs or content creators, influencers.
On our planet, we have more than 3,554 gates that you can travel from one point to another point in a few seconds. All these gates are on ley lines. They are the magnetic field lines from our planet. From these 3,454 gates, there was 12,000 years ago all open, but they have closed them in 3026 before Christ. They have closed all the gates. And why they have closed the gates? It was the last days that the gods was staying on our planet and was going away. And when they was going away, they have closed all these gates. And all these gates today, they are under big temples like we know, like Giza, Angkor Wat, Stonehenge, Avebury, and so on. Under these ancient temples are old accesses to these gates. So the last gates was open on our planet was the gates in Mexico. On different temples in Mexico, we have gates that was nog still open after 3026 BC. But on the moment when the reptilians have taken over our planet, the Violet Masters have closed the last gates what was open.
That's how we was close here in Indonesia.
I just heard a testimony of a girl who did what he suggested and it completely changed her life. Check this out.
Tonight, before you sleep, I beg you, kneel in your room and say, Lord, all my life I've done it my way. Tonight, I surrender everything to you, Lord. I give you my life. I give you my whole being. I entrust you with everything, and I'm saying to you tonight, Lord, I tried it my way and I failed. Failed, Lord. I failed. And to add to the word failure, miserably I failed. Lord, take over. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. My way. You do as you please, Lord. And let me see if you're not going to change. If you don't, then come and say, what you preach is wrong. Because I preach with confidence. Why? Because I know who I speak of. This sweetheart, his name is Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
So many people ask me, how can you be so bold? And it's because I know Jesus, I love him, and I just want others to know him too. If you have a testimony like this, drop it in the comments and follow for more.
I did it as well. My whole life changed because God is now in control of my life. He's controlling life even better than he's controlling the bike.
Our strategy is really simple. What we want to do is we want to put an incredibly great computer in a book that you can carry around with you that you can learn how to use in 20 minutes. We don't know how to do that now. It's impossible technically. So we had three options. One was to do nothing. The second one was to put a piece of garbage computer in a book. And we can do that, but our competitors are doing that, so we don't need to do that. The third option was to design the computer that we want to put into the book eventually, even though we can't put it into the book now. And right now, it fits in a bread box, and it's $10,000, and it's called Leeson. The next thing we would do is we would find a way to put it in a shoebox and sell it for like $2,500. And that'll be the next step. And finally, we'll find a way to get it in the book and sell it for $100,000.
Steve Jobs brought real innovation, but under Tim Cook, Apple has been releasing similar products each year with fewer breakthroughs compared to competitors.
Big Pharma is a $1.5 trillion market. And these are the 5 emerging ingredients making Big Pharma shiver. Number 1, lion's mane. Amplifies brain clarity and sharpens concentration. 2, Gotu Cola to fight Alzheimer's and dementia. Bacopa Muneri takes your memory retention to new heights. Ginkgo biloba can supercharge your mental performance. And last but not least, ashwagandha to calm your brain. All these supplements will make you a high-functioning human. And the best part is, there are no side effects. So ditch the amphetamines and go natural.
I'm with you, bro.
Chinese national Lin Shunhan was detained in Bainan City, south of Manila, late Thursday, amid a government crackdown of online businesses accused of defrauding clients, and which have been linked to other crimes including kidnappings, prostitution, human trafficking, torture, and murder.
This guy.
If you're not making faces, that's not going on in the U.S. They crying, they screaming, they throwing up, they stomach. I'm letting you do the open it up. Let's get it. Hey, watch out for that strap, man. Hey, elbow off doing this video. Show the chip. All right, boom, and then drop it. I don't want to touch that shit. Uh-oh. Let's go, Charity.
Let's go, Charity.
Let's go. How we feeling, Charity?
Don't even budge.
She's like, what the hell I get into?
No.
I'm good.
No reaction. Bro, what the fuck? I'm over here having it worse than y'all. I'm sweating. They got that Nigerian
Yep.
bro. Hey, nothing's gonna be wrong. Nobody's gonna judge. What the fuck? Rated 1 to 10 on the spice level. Is it right? Not that much. Oh, it's not? Is this one of the hottest things that you ever ate? Really? Is this hotter than Nigerian jollof rice? No. So you telling me this isn't that hot? No, it's not hot.
What the
Nigerians is different, bro. The Nigerian blood is different.
Without you, can't
Yeah, he was ready to pack it up.
You can live 100, 120, or 130, 40. We can. The 80 is easy, and we can get it. In the history, in the China, and many Tao masters, they live very long, and so they do practice. And many of them, they live quite long. Tao practice have systematically start from physically, organ, emotional, and spiritual work, because it's already laying down for 1,000 years from a practice from the physical, how to do it, how to take care of our own organ, how to heal them, and how to advance the practice. We talk about physical, organs, and mentality and energetic work.
Sounds like Bruce Lee to me.
Can somebody explain to me why it is that we need to build more housing versus utilizing the housing that's already there?
Well, because they're not building housing for the people who need housing. They're building housing for rich people to have a place to store their money in an appreciating asset so their wealth doesn't get eaten up by inflation. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with those like high rises full of luxury apartments on really valuable real estate right in the middle of cities that never have any lights on because nobody's actually there. Those are not really housing. They're more like physical, tangible banks. Just a place for rich Saudi princes and Dutch aristocrats to store their wealth. Another thing they can do is not buy the housing in their own name, but start a company and have the company own the housing, which changes the nature of how the asset taxation works. Then you could like leverage the value of that housing to get a loan in the company name and use the loan to buy even more housing. Now, since the company is technically in debt, it's not profitable, which minimizes the tax liability. And then you could, for instance, rent out the housing and make the tenants pay down the interest on the loan. The more you do this, the more housing is being bought, which drives the value of housing up and increases the value of your own investment. It also increases the amount of normal working people unable to afford housing of their own, which increases the amount of people dependent on renting housing from you in order to not be homeless. Essentially, I think the billionaire investors and the bankers have figured out a way to work together to monopolize the entire housing market and turn it into an infinite money glitch. At the expense of an awful lot of suffering, of course, but that seems to be the general underlying status quo of our entire civilization, so no big deal there.
I don't understand how this value keeps appreciating when there is no one to buy at the appreciating value. Oh, by the way, this is my neck massager.
Demon is a D-mon.
Demon.
Mon is the moon, meaning emotion. D means negative. Demon is a negative emotion, which possess your mind, body, and spirit. You have a physical and an astral body. Constant negative thoughts and emotions create astral energy, which latches onto your body. These entities are created by your own thought forms. You feed them by giving them emotional and mental energy. Every addiction you have is an astral entity that you have created. The astral plane is the screen you have in your mind that allows you to imagine an apple. This is a whole other dimension and you have a body there. The more attention you give them, the bigger, the stronger, and more influence they have on your body. Thoughts and emotions are a lot more powerful than you think. They are the commands that bring things into existence. You are a magician. Imagination. I, Magic Nation. You are a magician. You bring non-physical thoughts into a physical reality. You've been doing magic your whole life.
Demons are independent beings. He doesn't know of what he speaks. They exist independently.
De Niro's building a $1 billion studio. How is that going to make money? What's the business plan? Is it over 30 years? That's my question.
De Niro's 81, isn't he? Like, what? How old is De Niro?
But that's what I'm saying. In the rating system of Hollywood, PG-13, rated R, which rating is the most profitable?
I would say PG.
Wrong.
R.
It's G.
Oh.
The children's films that are animated stories like Cinderella are the most profitable in all of Hollywood, and yet they're 30% of the production. So why would the system make 70% of something that doesn't make as much as the 30%? Why? Because it's spiritual. Because the devil runs Hollywood. And he wants that negative 70% to teach your kids all these other things. But the 30%, which makes the most money, is happiness and loving your mom and dad, and they make the most money. Why would Hollywood make less of the most profitable?
Never did I think Stephen Baldwin would be the one I like most.
Better talent for you to be aware of than this group of teenagers in Sierra Leone, where your dad is from, that created the world's first hour-long superhero movie entirely edited on CapCut.
I cannot believe this, seriously. Like, Dylan, thank you so much. I am so speechless. The whole team is, we don't even know what to say. And yesterday we were practicing a script, like most of the team members, we were together, and then I got a call from the team leader and he said, bro, go on Instagram and check Dylan's page. And I just said, okay. I went on the page and I clicked it, and immediately I saw the video. Like, we just shouted. We felt so happy. Like, we hugged each other. We never knew that this was gonna happen. Dylan is the type of guy that will understand your struggles and turn it into a miracle. After I made that video in just 2 hours, Idris Elba, somebody we have been admiring for so long, messaged us and also followed us on TikTok. And he even sent us an email, like he asked us for our email and then we gave it to him and then he sent us an email. And now he's waiting to get like a call with us. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if our lives are gonna change. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what's happening. But so many people have called us scam. So many people have told us like we're just, like what we do is a joke. Like we're just playing. So many people have hated on us. Even if nothing happens, this alone has changed our mindset. This alone has fulfilled everything we have ever wished for. And I don't want to make this video too long. I just want to say thank you, Dylan, and I'll probably make another video later, a very organized one. But I was sitting down and I wanted to write a video, but I was just crying, so I couldn't. Sorry about that.
Congratulations, my friend.
Met a Dr. Henri Kawanda. Now, Dr. Kawanda is known as the father of fluid dynamics. He had over 500 patents on the way fluids flow around objects. He had flying saucers, literally things that levitate by using air flowing over a surface, but with no moving parts. He built the world's first snowmaking machine that turns liquid water into ice by passing it through a special nozzle that he developed. And so he was 80 when I met him. 17, we were working at a Pentagon think tank. He had a birthday party. And a few days later, he called me into his office, and he said, Patrick, I want to share something with you that I've worked on all my life for 60 years. I will not complete this project in my lifetime, but I feel that you will, so I'm going to give you my lifelong project, which has to do with finding the fountain of youth. Because he said there really is a fountain of youth. He said water is the most important nutrient that we put into our bodies, and it's the most ignored. And he said that water all over the world is different. Best water in the entire world was found in a place called Hunza, up north of Pakistan. And he said that the properties of Hunza water, which had what he called anomalous properties, were such that if I could build a machine to duplicate those properties, profoundly affect the entire world. And so he gave me his research, and I began my lifelong quest for Hunza water, for the properties of it. And so I began researching water, and I tested every kind of energy field that you can imagine, trying to change ordinary water into Hunza water. Finally, after almost 30 years, discovered the real secret of Hunza water was a special mineral found in the water, a special kind of colloidal mineral, which gives it all of these anomalous properties. Finally duplicated it after a period of a few years, and came up with a product called Crystal Energy, which was the very first development in this field. And from that developed a dry powder mineral called microcluster powder. And This is all nanotechnology. These minerals are very, very small. They're perfectly spherical. They're about 5 nanometers in diameter. Very unusual properties. One of these properties is they can coat nutrients and protect the nutrients from oxidative damage. They can help carry nutrients into the body so that the body can absorb more of those nutrients. I was reading some work by Albert St. Georgi, the Nobel Prize winner in chemistry for metabolism for metabolic research, who he also discovered vitamin C. That's also his claim to fame. All the food we eat ultimately breaks down into hydrogen, which is burned by oxygen, creating energy that powers our body. And the end result of that long biochemical process is the production of water and the release of energy, which runs our bodies. And the second thing that he said is that no electron moves in the body unless it's coupled to hydrogen. In college chemistry textbooks, it shows electrons somehow mysteriously entering into a chain of chemical reactions in the body without explaining where the electrons come from or how they're transported. When St. Georgi said that electrons cannot be transported without hydrogen, I became very excited. And the other thing that he said is that all living systems store hydrogen in their tissues in such a way that it doesn't require enzyme action to release the hydrogen. The other thing is that he gave a chemical reaction that was done in the early 1920s and published in medical journals for measuring hydrogen in biological tissues. And when I looked at the chemical reaction, I realized that there was only one form of hydrogen that would react that way as an indicator, and that was H minus, or negatively ionized hydrogen. That's hydrogen with an extra electron. I then developed a number of instruments for measuring hydrogen, something called photon detachment. I used the chemical test that Albert St. Georgi used, and also redox meter, similar to what you've seen so far, that meter that Dr. Higgins has shown you. And eventually found that all living fluids of every living organism, every fluid from any living organism is loaded with negatively ionized hydrogen. For example, if you take an organic orange that's fresh off the tree and you measure the hydrogen, it has a tremendous amount of negative ionized hydrogen. But if you let the orange sit around in your kitchen for a week or so and measure it again, it's lost a lot of its hydrogen. And also when we cook food, all the hydrogen is gone completely. It disappears. Realized that there was something, a missing ingredient no one had ever talked about in food, which is H minus, negatively ionized hydrogen. And the strange thing is that I had a sample of Hunza water that was nearly 40 years old that I'd been researching all those years. And I went back to my sealed bottle and measured the water from Hunzaland for H minus, and it was loaded with H minus. So not only did it have these special minerals, but it also had negatively ionized hydrogen.
Hansa people also fast for a long period of time. Also, they consume a lot of fruits with vitamin B17, like apricot.
When I tell people that AI is taking over the world, I think people think I'm crazy or just joking. Well, I'm not. This week I discovered an app called Cascade. See, this app looks very normal from the outside. It looks like just another app until you open it and learn about what it can do. Let me tell you. You see, this app right here, Cascade, has got what are known as AI agents. What is an AI agent? An AI agent is basically a software program that was designed to autonomously perform tasks on your behalf. When we say someone is your agent, we mean that they are your representative. They do as you say, they act on your behalf, they represent your agenda, they push your agenda. So an AI agent is basically your representative, but of an AI nature. Let me tell you why this is important. You can use this app to create an entire workforce that is composed of AI agents. For example, you can train an AI agent to answer your emails or to send emails on your behalf even when you're sleeping. I personally created something that I think is crazy. I have created a team of academic researchers that are AI agents that research for me 24/7, non-stop. Even as I'm speaking to you right now, my agents are busy looking for information that I ask them to look for on the internet at specific places, because you can tell your agents, do not look at Wikipedia. Leave Wikipedia alone. Focus here and there. You find this information. You focus on this. And they never stop. I can open my laptop now and just say, Steve, What do you got for me today? And Steve will report, oh, Steve is one of the name of my agents, you know. I got agents right now. Guys, are you listening to what I'm saying right now? Do you understand what I've just told you? You can have an entire workforce. I'm talking about having employees that do whatever you tell them to do non-stop, and they don't even expect any payment from you.
I'm going to try this. I don't think it's free though.